Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the St. Mark's Kids Chat. We are in Genesis chapter 15 today, and we're learning all about how God made a covenant with Abram. So what does the word covenant mean? Do you know what that means?
No.
Have you ever heard that before?
I've heard it, but I don't know what it means.
Okay, so let's talk about what that means. So a covenant means it's a promise that can't be broken. So it's really, really important that we remember that word covenant because it makes a really big difference in what we're about to learn today. Okay, so Abram, remember his other name that we're going to learn about later on in our lessons. His other name was Abraham, right? Mm-hmm. So we're talking about the same guy, but in this lesson he's still referred to as Abram, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. He was feeling kind of discouraged, right? You know, previously, God had spoken to him and said that I'm going to make you into a great nation, right? Mm-hmm. And that would kind of make you think that maybe he's going to have a whole bunch of children, right? Mm-hmm. So, but did he have any children at this time?
No.
He didn't have any children. So, you know, he remained childless. He had no kids. He had no heirs. You know, have you ever heard that word heir? H-E-I-R, heir. An heir is somebody who you can pass things down to, right? So someone who's going to inherit something. So, for example, if we own the house that we live in right now and the land on there, if something happened to me, I would pass it down to you guys, or your dad would pass it down to you guys, right? Because you are his heir, okay? But you know, Abram said to God, he says, "Who's going to inherit my estate? I don't have any children yet." And God said to him, "You will have a son of your own flesh and blood who will be your heir." So, wow, that's, that's a really big promise, right? He said to him that your descendants are going to inherit the land that I'm promising you. So, God took him outside too, and he said to him, "Look up at the sky and count all the stars, and if indeed you can count them, then so shall your offspring be." That was a quote from Genesis chapter 15. So I want you to look at this picture here really quickly. See this picture right here? This is of the stars. This is from our astronomy book, right? Look at all those stars right there. Are there a lot of stars? Mm-hmm. Let's show the people at home this picture of all these stars. That's a lot of stars. Normally, when we live in a neighborhood, we probably wouldn't see this many stars in the sky because there's too many lights around us. Mm-hmm. But if we were in the middle of nowhere and we looked up in the sky and there was no lights around, you might be able to see this many stars in the sky. Okay, so Max, I want you to count all these stars right now. Can you count them?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow, there's a lot of stars, right? There's lots of stars. So do you think that you'd be able to count all of those stars? Would it take a while? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would take a really long time, right? So imagine that the stars are almost like this little cup of sand. See the sand right here? Mm-hmm. So this sand is almost like all these stars that are up in the sky. See all this sand right here? Do you think you could count all the sand that's in this little cup?
No.
Would it take a long time? But that was God's point, right? The point that God was making was that it's going to be endless, right? There's there's tons of them. There's going to be so many. He's going to make you into a great nation, and it's going to be, look up at the sky, and if you can count that many stars, so shall be your offspring. So your offspring means like your children, right? That's another word for that.
And children.
Yeah, so God told him, though, he said, that's going to happen, but you're going to have to be patient, right? So he also said to him that it's going to be about 400 years until your descendants are really going to inherit that land. So if you can imagine, he's looking at his clock here on his, do you think that he's going to live to see that happen? Mm-hmm. No, he's probably not. But you know what? There is also, but there's still hope, and so there's still gonna be that promise, right? That covenant that God made with him. A covenant means a promise, right? That this is going to happen. It just might not be in his lifetime, right? But he also mentioned too that he's still going to have an heir of his own flesh and blood. And we're not going to get into that in this lesson, but it's just a reminder to us that we can trust what God says, even if we're not quite sure if it's going to happen right away in our timing, right? It's only going to happen in God's timing. So I have another demonstration here that we're going to do. Why don't you guys come down here? Why don't you have a seat, Sawyer? And Maxo, can you come in here and see? So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this bottle, okay? And I have this little egg right here. It's a hard-boiled egg. I have a question for you. Do you think that I can shove this egg into the bottle without it breaking? Yeah. Like, does it look like it's kind of like maybe a little bit too wide? So if I went like this and I smashed it with my hand and pushed it down, do you think that it would be in perfect condition still?
No. But it already has a little dent on it.
It doesn't. Yeah, but would it break if I smashed it in with my hand right now?
Probably.
It probably would break. But what if I promised you that I could make this egg go in here without breaking? Do you think that you might believe me? Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Maybe.
You think so? Mm-hmm. Well, let's try it. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to take this little piece of paper and we're going to light it on fire. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of paper and I'm going to stick it in here. And then I'm going to put this egg on top of it. And then watch what happens. Whoa, it sucked it in there, right? Whoa, it sucked it in there. Normally it goes all the way to the bottom, but it got a little bit stuck.
Also, it put out the fire.
So it also put out the fire, right? So God made a promise, right? God made a promise that we were going to be able to suck that, just like I promised you that we were going to be able to suck that into the thing. And did it break? No. Let's show everybody at home. Did that egg break? Nope. Sure didn't. It sure didn't. So it's just a good reminder that we can trust God, right? No matter what. And that's what Abraham did. He trusted God. All right, everybody.
Abram.
Abram, yes. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.